It began with a question that has haunted markets and boardrooms for centuries. How far will people go to sell an idea, a product, or a dream? This is the hidden history of 10 of the greatest marketing and corporate scams of our time. Stories of ambition, ingenuity, deception, and the shocking moments when the truth finally broke through. The first takes us to Wall Street in the 1990s. Bernie Madoff, a man with impeccable connections and a calm, trustworthy demeanor, promised investors consistent returns no matter the market conditions. For years, it seemed to be true. Celebrities, charities, and everyday people invested their life savings. But the real shock came when investigators discovered it was the largest Ponzi scheme in history, worth an estimated $65 billion on paper. Madoff had been paying early investors with money from new ones, keeping the illusion alive for decades. When the 2008 financial crisis struck, the scheme collapsed in days. The man once celebrated as a financial genius became a symbol of betrayal. If Madoff's scam was a betrayal of trust, the next was a betrayal of hope. In 2003, a Stanford dropout named Elizabeth Holmes promised a medical revolution. Her company, Theranos, claimed to run hundreds of blood tests from a single drop. The idea caught fire. Walgreens signed on. Former secretaries of state joined the board. Investors poured in nearly $1 billion. But here is what you never knew. Behind the frosted glass and the black turtlenecks, the machines often did not work at all. In many cases, blood was tested on standard lab machines, not the company's own invention. In 2015, a Wall Street Journal investigation exposed the truth. By 2022, Holmes was convicted of fraud. The story became a cautionary tale about hype, ambition, and the seduction of the Silicon Valley dream. While Theranos deceived in the lab, Volkswagen deceived on the road. In 2015, researchers in the United States discovered something unusual. VW diesel cars performed much better on emissions tests than in real driving. The real shock came when investigators learned the company had installed software to cheat those tests. 11 million vehicles worldwide had been fitted with the so-called Deceit device. Customers who believed they were driving environmentally friendly cars were actually polluting far more than allowed. The fallout cost the company over $30 billion and shattered decades of brand trust. The early 2000s were also the time of Enron. Once hailed as America's most innovative company, Enron transformed energy trading into a high-tech business. Or so it seemed. In reality, executives used complex accounting tricks to hide massive debts while inflating profits. The company's value soared to $68 billion before collapsing in 2001. Tens of thousands lost their jobs and pensions. The scandal led to new laws on corporate accountability. But here is the detail many forget. Enron's culture celebrated aggressive risk-taking to such an extent that deception became just another form of innovation. Not long after Enron, WorldCom fell. The telecommunications giant appeared unstoppable. But in 2002, it was revealed that executives had inflated assets by over $11 billion. They had turned everyday expenses into capital investments on paper, making profits appear far larger than they were. This was not just creative accounting. It was a corporate mirage. Investors lost billions, thousands lost jobs, and the shockwaves helped push forward reforms like the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. Some scams do not start in boardrooms at all. In 2017, an event called the Fyre Festival was billed as the party of the century. It was sold through glossy influencer videos, promising luxury villas, gourmet food, and headline music acts on a Bahamian island. What attendees found was disaster. Disaster tents left from a hurricane, cheese sandwiches in styrofoam containers, musicians pulling out. The truth was that the festival was never ready to happen. Organizer Billy McFarland ended up in prison. The Fyre Festival became an instant meme, but it also revealed how social media could amplify a fantasy far faster than reality could catch up. For a different kind of fantasy, we go to the jungles of Indonesia in the 1990s. A Canadian company called Bre-X announced it had found one of the largest gold deposits in history. The discovery sent stock prices soaring. Investors dreamed of untold riches, but the real shock came when geologists discovered the samples had been salted with gold from other sources. There was no massive deposit. Billions in paper wealth vanished overnight. The scandal left a deep scar on mining investment worldwide. In the mid-1990s, Centennial Technologies offered another kind of illusion. The company claimed to be shipping valuable computer memory cards, but in reality, some shipments contained nothing more than fruit baskets. This bizarre deception, hidden behind manipulated financial statements, caused the company's stock to skyrocket by over 450% before crashing. It was a reminder that even in high-tech, the oldest tricks of false goods and fake records could still fool investors. Not all scams involve millions of dollars. Some are small enough to fit in the back of a van. The white van speaker scam began in the 1980s and still runs today. The pitch is simple. Strangers approach, claiming they have high-end speakers left over from a job, selling them at a fraction of the price. In reality, the speakers are cheap knockoffs, sometimes even filled with concrete to make them feel heavy. It works because it feels like an exclusive deal. In truth, it is a marketing illusion as old as the marketplace itself. Finally, there is the power balance wristband craze of the late 2000s. These simple silicone bands claimed to improve balance, strength, and flexibility using holographic technology. Athletes and celebrities endorsed them. Millions were sold. But here is what really happened. There was no scientific basis for the claims. After consumer lawsuits, the company admitted there was no credible evidence the bands worked. It was the placebo effect, marketed to perfection. Looking across these stories, patterns emerge. A charismatic figure, a promise that feels too good to ignore, a narrative that fits the hopes or fears of the time. In the roaring markets of the 1990s, it was the promise of endless profit. In the era of climate change awareness, it was the dream of clean diesel. In the age of Instagram, it was the image of luxury that could be yours if you acted fast. But in each case, the dream was built on sand. These stories teach us that vigilance is as important as vision. We should celebrate bold ideas, but also ask hard questions. The next time you see a product that promises to change your life, take a moment to ask how it works, who is backing it, and what evidence supports it. The great scams of history are built not just on lies, but on our willingness to believe them. So, what do you think was the most damaging corporate scam of the century, and why? And which of these do you believe could happen again in our lifetime? If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden histories, like and subscribe so you do not miss the next investigation into the stories behind the things we trust. In the next episode, we will explore inventions that began as accidents but reshaped the world.